2970. 2987. 2992. Targets.
Welcome back to the channel. This is the cartridge war of this century. Today's video, we're going to be comparing FUD versus man bun, old versus new. Two cartridges that basically have the same performance. We have the 270 Winchester versus the 6.5 PRC. Which one's a better hunting cartridge? Let's find out. My name is Austin from the Reloading Weatherby channel. I will be narrating today's video. So why compare 270 Winchester to the 6.5 PRC? Well, both cartridges have rabid fan bases, and interestingly enough, both cartridges have just about the exact same performance, the exact same case capacity, and almost the same bullet diameter. One does it an old school way, while the 6.5 PRC does it the new school way. Let's first take a look at the 270 Winchester. Well, it's been 100 years since its introduction. 1925. Pretty crazy to think about that this cartridge is 100 years old and it's still one of the most popular hunting cartridges you can get. Now, the parent case to the 270 Winchester is hypothetically the 30-03. A lot of people, including me, just say 30-06. It's whatever. It's a 30-06 case, which has been lengthened a little bit. So obviously it doesn't fit into a 30-06 chamber, but what you're getting is flatter trajectory, faster velocities overall than a 30-06, mostly because you're shooting lighter bullets. The real sweet spot for the 270 Winchester has always been the 130 grain bullet. When you're comparing it to like a 30-06, it's got the same sectional density and the same BC of around a 165 grain. But in 270 Winchester, you're able to push it 3,100 feet per second compared to a 30-06 that's shooting at 2,900, maybe 3,000 feet per second with a 24-inch barrel. So really good performance. A 140 grain at 3,000 feet per second, and then a 150 grain at 2,900. Let's take a look at the 6.5 PRC, introduced in 2018. Parent case is the 375 Ruger. Now this has been shortened down to a short action. So the case is on a little over 2 inches long and obviously neck down to 6.5. On to 270 Winchester. This old girl still has it in her. As I said, 24-inch barrel. We're gonna use a 145 grain ELDX. Same exact powder reloader, 26. And drum roll, whoa. About 1 minute ago, I said they had about the same velocity. Well, I was wrong. I'll show you in a sec what they do the same. So I apologize for being a little misleading, but wow. 270 Winchester is almost 100 feet per second faster than a 6.5 PRC, using the same powder, roughly the same bullet, with the same barrel length. Very impressive, 270. So the question is, if the 6.5 PRC and the 270 Winchester have the exact same, or roughly the same case capacity, why is the 270 Winchester with the same weight bullets almost 100 feet per second faster with the same barrel length? Well, it's pretty simple. The FUDs are gonna love this one. The 270 Winchester is a more efficient cartridge. The 6.5 PRC is more overbore than a 270 Winchester. You know, you're shooting smaller diameter bullets in the same case, you're not gonna get as fast velocities. There's more bullet diameter for the powder to push out. It's just more efficient. The question is though, the higher BC 6.5 bullets, will it overtake or will it compete with the faster 270 Winchester velocities? Let's find out. Okay, let's see what these cartridges can do. Head to head, 6.5 PRC, 143 grain ELDX, G1BC is 625, max velocity of 3,070 feet per second. Your energy is almost 3,000 foot-pounds. Recoil, around 19 foot-pounds of recoil with an 8-pound, maybe a 9-pound gun. Let's go 400 yards. 2,481 feet per second, 1,954 foot-pounds, a little under 22 inches of drop. By the way, these numbers are at sea level. It only gets better the higher the elevation you go. Let's just take this out to 500, 2,345 feet per second, 1,746 foot-pounds, 39.8 inches of drop. All right, moment of truth, 270 Winchester, 145 grain ELDX, G1 of 535, muzzle velocity of 3,155 feet per second, 3,205 foot-pounds. So already 200 more foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle and just a tad bit more recoil. Very similar though. Out to 400 yards, 2,461 feet per second, 1,951 foot-pounds of energy. As I said, these cartridges are basically the same, with a minor advantage for the 270 Winchester in drop. Out to 500 yards, 2,304 feet per second, so now the 6.5 PRC is barely overtaking it, and then 1,709 foot-pounds, so again, not a huge difference, but a little advantage for the 6.5 PRC, but at least out to 500 yards, they're about the same drop. As I said in the intro, these two are basically the exact same cartridge. Now, which one is actually a better hunting cartridge? I'm actually going to go with the FUDs here and say the 270 Winchester. Now, the only reason is that you can shoot a bullet that's wider diameter. And then if you have a faster twist 270, I understand they're really only in Browning X bolts. You can shoot up to a 175 grain bullet. You can't do that in a 6.5 PRC. Now, which one, if I wanted to shoot long range target practice, hands down, I think the 6.5 PRC beats it. You know, you saw that at 500 yards, the 6.5 PRC started to take over with the higher BC bullets. But for pure hunting, and it's tough to not go with the 270 Winchester when comparing these two. But you really can't go wrong with both.
Thanks for watching Bullets for Bucks. Check out this next video and subscribe.